What would you do if the most dangerous man in London saved your life? The rain hammered down on the cobblestone streets of East London like bullets from heaven. Elena Martinez pressed herself against the brick wall of an abandoned warehouse, her thin dress soaked through, her body trembling so violently she thought her bones might shatter. 3 days. That's how long she'd been running. Her stepfather's men were still out there, somewhere in the darkness, hunting her like an animal. She'd witnessed something she shouldn't have, a deal, a murder, dirty money changing hands, and now her stepfather wanted her silenced permanently. Elena closed her eyes, tears mixing with rain on her cheeks. This was it. This was how she would die. Alone. Cold. 23 years old and her life was over. Then she heard footsteps. Heavy. Measured. Coming closer. Elena's heart stopped. She tried to run, but her legs gave out beneath her, and she collapsed onto the wet pavement. Strong hands caught her before she hit the ground. Please, she whispered, looking up into the face of her captor. Please don't kill me. But the man staring down at her wasn't one of her stepfather's thugs. He was something else entirely. Tall, with dark hair slicked back from a face that could have been carved from marble. Sharp jawline. Storm gray eyes that seemed to see straight through her soul. He wore an expensive black suit that probably cost more than her entire year's rent, and there was something about him, something dangerous, something powerful, that made the air around him crackle with electricity. Who are you running from? His voice was deep, smooth like whiskey, with a crisp British accent that spoke of old money and older power. I can't. Elena's teeth chattered so hard she couldn't form words. The man's eyes narrowed. Then, in one fluid motion, he shrugged off his suit jacket and wrapped it around her shoulders. It was warm, expensive, and smelled like sandalwood and danger. Can you walk? He asked. Elena tried to stand, but her knees buckled again. Without hesitation, the stranger swept her up into his arms as if she weighed nothing at all. Wait, she managed. Who are you? A slight smile curved his lips, but it didn't reach his eyes. My name is Damien Cross. And you, little dove, just became my responsibility. Elena woke up in what could only be described as a palace. The bed beneath her was bigger than her entire apartment back in Madrid. Silk sheets. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Thames. Morning light streaming through gauzy curtains. For a moment, she thought she'd died and this was some kind of afterlife. Then the door opened, and Damien Cross walked in, carrying a breakfast tray. He'd changed clothes, now wearing black trousers and a crisp white shirt rolled up at the sleeves, revealing forearms corded with muscle and decorated with intricate tattoos. A snake. A crown. Words in Latin she couldn't quite read. You're awake, he said, setting the tray on the bedside table. How do you feel? Elena sat up slowly, clutching the blankets to her chest. Where am I? My home. Belgravia. He poured tea with practiced ease. You had hypothermia. My personal physician checked you over last night. You'll be fine, but you need rest. I need to leave, Elena said, panic rising in her chest. They'll find me. My stepfather. Diego Martinez. Damien's voice was flat, emotionless. I know who he is. Elena's blood ran cold. How do you? I make it my business to know everyone who operates in my city. Damien handed her the teacup. And your stepfather has been stepping on toes he shouldn't step on. Including mine. Understanding dawned slowly. You're part of the underworld. I own the underworld, little dove. Those grey eyes fixed on her with laser intensity. I am the king of London's criminal empire. And Diego Martinez is a cockroach trying to build a kingdom in my territory. Elena's hands shook, tea sloshing dangerously close to the rim. Then why did you save me? Why not just let me die or hand me back to him? Damien was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than she expected. Because I know what it's like to run. To be hunted. And because... He paused, something flickering in his eyes. Because when I saw you in that rain, something inside me that I thought was dead a long time ago woke up. 3 days passed. 3 days of living in Damien's world, A world of luxury and violence, of expensive dinners and hushed phone calls about shipments and territories and people who'd betrayed the wrong man. Elena learned that Damien Cross wasn't just a criminal. He was a legend. The man who'd taken over London's underworld at 25 after his father was murdered. The man who ruled with an iron fist but never got his own hands dirty. The man everyone feared and no one dared cross. And yet, with her, he was different. He brought her books when she was bored. Showed her his private garden where he grew roses. Sat with her in comfortable silence while she recovered, never pushing, never demanding. But on the fourth day, everything changed. Elena was reading in the library when raised voices echoed from Damien's office. She knew she shouldn't eavesdrop, but something in her stepfather's name being shouted made her creep closer. "You can't keep her here, Damien." A man's voice, angry. "Martinez knows she's with you. He's demanding her return or he'll declare war." "Let him try." Damien's voice was ice cold. "I'd welcome the excuse to wipe him off the map. This isn't just about Martinez anymore." Another voice, older. "The other families are watching. They think you've gone soft. That you're keeping this girl out of sentiment, not strategy. They're talking about a vote. About replacing you." Silence. Then Damien, "Get out. Both of you." Elena hurried back to the library, her heart pounding. She'd brought war to Damien's doorstep. She'd made him vulnerable. That night, she packed her few belongings and waited until the house was quiet. She would leave. She would disappear. She would protect the man who'd saved her life by removing herself from his. She made it as far as the front gate before Damien appeared out of the shadows. "Going somewhere, little dove?" Elena jumped, spinning to face him. "You can't keep me here. I heard what your men said. I'm putting you in danger." "So you were going to just leave?" He moved closer, and she could see the fury blazing in his eyes. "Without a word? Without protection? Do you have any idea what Martinez would do if he found you? Better me than you." Elena shouted back, surprised by her own vehemence. "You saved my life, Damien. I won't let you lose everything because of me." "Everything?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "What is everything worth if I let you die?" The words hung in the air between them. Elena's voice dropped to a whisper. "Why do you care so much?" Damien closed the distance between them in 2 strides. His hands came up to frame her face, and Elena's breath caught in her throat. "Because in 20 years of living in darkness," he said roughly, "you're the first light I've seen. Because when I look at you, I remember what it feels like to be human. Because," his voice broke, "because I love you, Elena. God help me, I love you." Then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate, hungry, filled with all the emotion they'd both been holding back. Elena melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, kissing him back with everything she had. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Damien rested his forehead against hers. "Stay with me," he whispered. "Not because you owe me. Not because you're afraid. But because you want to. Stay with me, Elena." Elena's voice trembled. "I don't belong in your world, Damien. I'm nobody. Just a girl who witnessed the wrong thing at the wrong time." "You're everything," he said fiercely. "And I will burn this entire city to the ground before I let anyone hurt you." But love, Elena learned, wasn't enough when war was brewing. The next morning, a package arrived. Inside was a phone, already ringing. Elena answered, and her stepfather's oily voice slithered through the speaker. "Hello, Elena. I trust Mr. Cross has been accommodating." "What do you want, Diego?" "I want what's mine. You saw things you shouldn't have. You're a loose end, and I don't leave loose ends. I'm not coming back." "Oh, I think you will." His voice hardened. "Because if you don't turn yourself in by midnight tonight, I will start killing people you care about. Your mother first. Then your little brother, Matteo. Then anyone else who ever showed you kindness." Elena's blood turned to ice. "My mother and brother have nothing to do with this." "They have everything to do with this. Family is leverage, Elena. You should know that by now." He paused. "Midnight. The old church in Whitechapel. Come alone, or they die. And if Cross interferes, I'll kill them anyway, just to make a point. The line went dead. Elena stood frozen, the phone slipping from her nerveless fingers. Her mother. Her baby brother. They'd been living quietly in Madrid, out of Diego's world, or so she'd thought. Damien appeared in the doorway. One look at her face and he knew something was terribly wrong. What happened? Elena told him everything, her voice hollow. When she finished, Damien's expression was murderous. He's bluffing. It's a trap. What if he's not? Elena's eyes filled with tears. Damien, I can't let my family die because of me. I can't. And I can't let you walk into certain death. Damien grabbed her shoulders. Elena, listen to me. Martinez won't let you live. Even if you turn yourself in, he'll kill you and your family. That's who he is. Then what do I do? Elena broke down, sobbing against his chest. How do I save them? Damien held her tight, his mind racing. Then, slowly, an idea formed. You trust me? He asked. Elena pulled back to look at him. Despite everything, the danger, the impossibility of their situation, she found herself nodding. Yes. Then let me handle this my way. Midnight found Elena standing outside the old Whitechapel church, alone. Or so it appeared. She walked through the heavy wooden doors into the abandoned sanctuary. Moonlight streamed through broken stained glass windows, painting everything in shattered colors. Diego Martinez stood at the altar, flanked by 6 armed men. He smiled when he saw her, a predator's smile, all teeth and no warmth. There's my little stepdaughter. I knew you'd see reason. Where are they? Elena demanded. Where are my mother and brother? Safe. For now. Diego descended the steps slowly. Did you really think you could hide from me? Did you think that criminal you've been warming the bed of could protect you from me? He's more of a man than you'll ever be. Diego's smile vanished. He moved faster than Elena expected, backhanding her across the face. She crashed to the floor, tasting blood. Disrespectful little bitch, he hissed. I should have killed you years ago. He raised his gun, pointing it at Elena's head. Any last words? Elena looked up at him and smiled through bloody teeth. Yes. You fell for it. Diego's eyes widened. What? The church exploded with light and sound. Doors burst open from every direction. Damien's men poured in, armed and armored, moving with military precision. Diego's men barely had time to raise their weapons before they were disarmed and on the ground. And then Damien himself appeared, walking through the smoke and chaos like an avenging angel. He was dressed all in black, a gun in his hand, his face a mask of cold fury. Hello, Diego, he said pleasantly. I believe we have some business to discuss. Diego swung his gun toward Damien, but before he could fire, Elena kicked his leg out from under him. The gun went flying, and Damien's boot came down on Diego's wrist with a sickening crunch. Diego screamed. Damien crouched down, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper that somehow carried through the entire church. You threatened what's mine. You put your hands on her. And you thought there would be no consequences? She's a witness. She'll destroy me. No, Damien said coldly. I will destroy you. But not before you tell me where her family is. Go to hell. Damien pressed his gun against Diego's kneecap. Wrong answer. What happened next, Elena would never speak of. But Diego talked. He told them everything, where her mother and brother were being held, who his contacts were, every dirty secret he'd been hoarding. By the time Damien was done, Diego Martinez was a broken man, sobbing on the church floor. Damien stood, holstering his gun. Elena's family will be on a plane to London by morning. As for you, he gestured to his men. Take him to the warehouse. Let the other families know what happens to anyone who threatens my people. As Diego was dragged away, screaming and begging, Damien turned to Elena. The coldness melted from his face, replaced by concern. Are you hurt? Elena touched her split lip gingerly. I'm okay. Is it true? My family. My men reached them an hour ago. They're safe. Diego had them in a safe house in Madrid, guarded by amateurs. They never stood a chance. He pulled her into his arms. "It's over, little dove. You're safe now." Elena clung to him, trembling with relief and residual fear. "I was so scared." "I know. But you were also brave. So incredibly brave." He tilted her chin up. "You trusted me." "I'll always trust you," Elena whispered. "I love you, Damien." His eyes widened slightly, the first time she'd said the words out loud. Then he smiled, a real smile that transformed his entire face, making him look younger, lighter, free. "I love you too," he said. "More than I ever thought possible." He kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise, while around them, his men discreetly cleared out, giving them privacy in their moment. 6 months later. The garden was in full bloom. White roses, Damien's favorite, climbed up trellises and burst from carefully tended beds. Paper lanterns hung from every tree, glowing softly in the gathering twilight. A string quartet played something classical and beautiful. And Elena stood in a room upstairs, staring at herself in the mirror, hardly recognizing the woman looking back. The wedding dress was simple but elegant, ivory silk that flowed like water, with delicate lace sleeves and a train that pulled behind her. Her dark hair was swept up, threaded with tiny white flowers. She looked like a princess from a fairy tale. "You look beautiful, Mija." Her mother stood behind her, tears streaming down her face. "So beautiful." Elena turned to embrace her mother, this woman who'd survived so much. After they'd been rescued, Elena's mother had confessed everything. How Diego had controlled her through fear, how she'd stayed to protect her children, how she'd never stopped loving them. Now she was free. They all were. "Is Mateo ready?" Elena asked. "He's already downstairs, trying to convince Damien's second-in-command to teach him how to fight." Her mother laughed. "That boy is fearless." Her 13-year-old brother had taken to London like a duck to water. He worshipped Damien, who'd been surprisingly patient with the kid, teaching him chess and taking him to football matches. They'd become a family. A strange, unconventional family, but a family nonetheless. A soft knock at the door. Damien's voice, "Everyone's ready, little dove." Elena's heart fluttered. Even now, after 6 months together, his voice still did things to her. "I'll see you down there," her mother said, squeezing her hand before slipping out. Damien entered, and Elena heard his sharp intake of breath. "Elena," he breathed. "You're too much." She turned, suddenly nervous. "Perfect." He crossed to her in 3 strides, taking her hands in his. "Absolutely perfect." He looked devastating in his tuxedo, his dark hair styled back, his grey eyes warm as they rested on her face. "I have something for you," he said, pulling out a small velvet box. Inside was a necklace, a delicate gold chain with a single pendant, a dove, wings spread in flight. "Damien," Elena whispered. "It's beautiful." "A reminder," he said, fastening it around her neck, "that you're free now. You'll always be free. And you chose to stay with me anyway." Elena turned to face him, tears pricking her eyes. "Best choice I ever made." "No regrets? No wishing you'd chosen a simpler life with a normal man?" She cupped his face in her hands. "Damien Cross, you are the least simple, most complicated, most dangerous man I've ever met. And I wouldn't change a single thing about you. You saved my life. You taught me how to fight back. You showed me what it means to truly love someone. How could I ever regret that?" He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, finally her lips, sweet and gentle and full of promise. "Shall we go get married, little dove?" "Absolutely." The ceremony was small, just close friends and Damien's most trusted associates. Elena had learned that in Damien's world, trust was more valuable than gold, and the people gathered here had proven their loyalty time and again. They exchanged vows under an arch of white roses as the sun set over London, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. When Damien slid the ring onto her finger, a stunning diamond that probably cost more than a small country, Elena felt something settle in her chest. Home. She was home. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," the officiant said. "You may kiss your bride." Damien pulled her close, and the kiss they shared was witnessed by their unlikely family, former criminals and survivors, all of them broken in their own ways, all of them finding healing in this strange new world they'd built together. When they finally broke apart, everyone cheered. 1 year later, Elena sat in Damien's garden, her hands resting on her swollen belly, watching the sunset paint the sky. A year ago, she'd been running for her life, convinced she was going to die alone in the rain. Now she was married to the king of London's underworld, carrying his child, and happier than she'd ever imagined possible. Life wasn't perfect. Damien still had to handle his business, still had to make difficult decisions, still lived in a world of shadows. But he'd made changes too. Legitimate businesses. Investments. Plans to eventually leave the criminal world behind entirely. For our children, he'd said. So they never have to live the way I did. Strong arms wrapped around her from behind. Damien rested his chin on her shoulder, his hands covering hers on her belly. How are my girls today? We're fine, Elena said, leaning back against him. She's been kicking up a storm. They'd found out last week they were having a girl. Damien had actually cried, not the cold, dangerous man who ruled an empire, but the vulnerable man underneath, the one only Elena got to see. Have you thought about names? He asked. I have, actually. Elena turned to look at him. What do you think about Hope? Damien was quiet for a moment, his eyes suspiciously bright. Hope, he repeated. Because she represents everything we're building. Everything we're fighting for. Exactly. He kissed her temple, his arms tightening around her. It's perfect. She's perfect. You're perfect. How did I get so lucky? You saved a girl in the rain, Elena said softly. And she saved you right back. They sat together as the sun disappeared below the horizon, two broken people who'd found each other in the darkness and built something beautiful from the wreckage. And somewhere in the night, in the heart of London, life went on, dangerous and unpredictable and wild. But here, in this garden, surrounded by white roses and love, everything was exactly as it should be. What would you do if the most dangerous man in London saved your life? She never imagined the answer would be, fall in love, fight back, and build a family in the ruins of two broken souls. This is their story. Stay with me tonight, and forever.